Hey guys, Chris Bruce with King Creative, and we're digging into another COVID conversation. This time we're going to focus a little bit on sports, and no better to do that than with the Philly sports guy himself on the show. What's happening, Philly sports guy? How you feeling right now? You must be excited. NFL just launched the season, and things are starting to look like they might be coming back. What's going on, man?
Well, hey, Chris, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, it's been a little tough without any sports whatsoever. I mean, they stopped sports right around the Ides of March, it seems. And then right after that, there has been no sports. And the NFL released their schedule just a couple days ago, and we did the draft. So if things are starting to look back up. The NBA, the NHL are working out different things to get things back started again. So things could be looking up.
So you along with all of us who kind of going through a process, these sports are one of the healthiest distractions that we have, that we look forward to, that we've really built into our lives in a lot of ways. And when March Madness went out, that was kind of the first big hit. And then the season started to fall with the NBA and the NHL and all that. And the long-term implications seemed really like, now what? But with you as a personality and somebody who covers sports and is obviously wildly passionate, and your content is primarily driven based on the sports that are happening, you, I think, like a lot of people, took a break and we're trying to figure out what to do. And it's really, first of all, it's really good to see you back at it. You've been doing a lot of content, so I'm excited, and I'm happy to see that, because I was missing my Philly sports guy for sure, and it's good to see you back, man.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you. When they started to cancel sports, when I got into this, I was like, well, sports are never going to go away. And, then next thing you know is that, okay, the NBA cancels. And then the NHL follows suit. And it was interesting because I was at the last Flyers game there was before they put us all into quarantine and canceled all the sports. So we didn't even know when I was there at the game that was going to be the last sporting event that there was in Philadelphia. So it really put a huge dagger into my heart, because it's like sports is what makes a good amount of Philadelphia move. We're a blue collar town. We love we work really hard, and we love our teams, and this was just a challenge all the way around. So when it first happened, I wasn't sure exactly how to proceed.
Yeah,
it really
that makes sense.
Yeah, it really put me into a funk that I'm sure a lot of Philadelphians felt. It was, we live and die by our sports teams, and you would just know that by coming on a Monday after an Eagles game. You would see in Philadelphia, I'd be willing to bet that the production of the average person after an Eagles loss is about 60% in comparison to after an Eagles win, it's at full bore.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I bet you if you were to compare that to other cities, it's got to be at the top. I mean, if not the very, very top, it's right there. And it impacts the way that, we feel and we act and we work for sure. And thinking about that real quick, looking back, knowing that you were at that last Flyers game, if you could do it again, knowing it was going to be the last one for a while, what would you have done differently maybe to really relish in that?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that I would have done anything differently, mostly because I'm very passionate, especially when I'm at the games. My three rules are: I don't curse, I don't sit down, I don't shut up. Now, at a hockey game, it's a little different. You have to sit down because there's just too many people that wouldn't see. But that being said, I don't shut up the entire game, and it's very exciting, and I'm very passionate, and we won that game, and it was just a fantastic experience all the way around. Had I known that they were not going to get back on the ice again, I may have been had to be escorted out of the stadium because I just wasn't ready to leave. I didn't want sports to go.
Yeah, you weren't ready to stop clapping because that's one of your things too, right? Those hands are busy, they're active. You probably got the most active hands in all of sports when it comes to
And
cheering on your team.
these things are monstrous. You know what I mean? I have some big hands, and they make a lot of noise when it's
Yeah.
time. So
Now you're just bragging. Okay. But no, that's awesome. And I believe it, man. You leave it all out there in the stands, in your case, every game, all day, every day. That's one of your things. And with the season coming back on, with the Eagles starting to kind of stir things up a little bit. Obviously, we're still waiting on what's going to happen with Major League Baseball and all the other sports. But at least with the NFL, it looks like they have somewhat of a plan in place. What's that looking like? Because I know you're staying on top of it. The season just got announced, like you said, a few days ago. You've got some things kind of in mind for the season. What are your plans looking towards the NFL season coming this fall?
So, with all of the sports, the NFL is the first sport to really starting to include fans and saying that, okay, we are going to open up as if this virus is over. And of course, they can only start to plan that way when it comes to getting closer to the time. It may change. However, the NFL has put a lot of things in place to be able to make sure that if they needed to take the games from the beginning of the season and either move them towards the end or adjust them in any way possible, that they have put these little nuances in the schedule so that they could combine the schedule as much as possible to get it as condensed, i.e., they may have to take away a bye week. They may have to move any game from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. They are looking to, as you know, they changed the agreement between the players and the NFL. So they were supposed to have 17 games this year. That was scrapped for this year specifically because they felt that it was a little too much to try to burden themselves with on a season that could possibly be postponed for a while, or even possibly canceled, depending on when the virus comes back around and how severe it hits. But so when you hear about the NBA and the NHL and Major League Baseball, you hear that they are considering doing sports or these games fanless. And although I can commend them, and these guys are making money as well, so it's important to be able to have those types of games available to be able to even watch, since we're sitting around sportsless all of this time. It really will change the dynamic of the game in total. There won't be any more home field advantage. There won't be any of that. So I am really excited that the NFL has kept pace as of right now, saying, okay, we are going to do this as if this, virus did not happen, and we're going to move forward and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine sports at this level, especially you think about Eagles fans specifically, the game without the fans. I mean, you can't recreate the atmosphere, the vibe, and the impact that fans have on the game. And just imagine those players out there playing in a sterile, fanless environment. It definitely changes the way that you play. And I would imagine from an NFL perspective, you're going to have to figure out a sound design that incorporates fan noise into the watching experience, because you're not going to be able to really enjoy it the same way we're accustomed to doing without that fan noise. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? I mean, you think about a laugh track back in the day with comedy, sitcoms and shows. They integrated those tracks because it impacts the way we view it, the way we feel about it, and the way that things hit. So I could imagine they're really putting some things and some thought behind that TV watching experience. And I'm sure the networks are thinking already, well, if we don't have fans, we've got to pump this in.
Well, exactly. So with football, it's a little different, specifically because you can hear the outside fans, but they come over the microphones of the announcers. So it's a little different unless they're showing fan, like doing a crowd pan. you don't hear anything about the fans unless it's going over the microphones. With the Major League Baseball and with basketball and with hockey, it's those, you need the sounds. Like hockey is fairly quiet during play. So when that happens, you hear the puck and you hear them skating around. In basketball, you hear the sneakers.
Man, those sneakers are legit. And if that's all you had was just sneaker sounds and the dribbling and like the ball hitting the backboard and the rim and in the net and all that, it's very different. It's just very different.
Absolutely. And then and then the censorship, because these players are they're human beings and they curse just like we curse. So it would be really difficult when you hear somebody screaming because of just the competition level, or they get a little, there's a little bit of back and forth jawing. As interesting as that will be, I don't know if it's going to be made for TV.
Right. It's not family per se. Let's just say it might not be PG rated. And that crowd noise masks a lot of that. And that's part of what they count on for these players to be able to have that intensity and to have that, heat of the battle kind of vibe. And, when they mic up a player, it's a risk, right? And sometimes they're very, they don't usually share that live. They'll take snippets that they then edit and put in and they can use. But if they were just to have a live feed of that the whole game, you'd definitely be catching some stuff for sure.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you say that, because I remember a game, I guess it was 2 years ago, where Malcolm Jenkins was mic'd up and Chris Long was up right next to him. And Malcolm was like, oh, hey, just pointing to his shoulder. And Chris Long was usually for the anthem was putting his hand on his shoulder. And so he thought he meant go to the other side. He goes, no, I'm mic'd up. And then Chris Long comes over and goes, so, hey, did you ever get that itch worked out? And it was kind of funny and ridiculous.
That's amazing.
To be able to catch that little snippet. That's it. Just, again, the fun between two players on the same team.
And Jenkins was actually, out of respect, trying to say, hey, don't say something you're going to regret because I'm mic'd. And instead, when Chris Long was like, oh, yeah?
Exactly. Hey, Chris Long is usually pretty quick on stuff like that.
No, of course. He learned well, I'm sure, from his dad, and he's a smart guy. But, so what are you thinking right now? Obviously there's a lot to consider. I know you have a big bus trip that you're planning for DC, which right now is the first game of the season. So there's probably a lot of things surrounding that. What are you doing right now to kind of prepare, and what do you want to tell the fans and let them know that they should expect from the Philly Sports Guy right now?
So I am going to do whatever I can. If they decide that they are going to do these games fanless, and what I mean with like basketball and hockey and baseball, I am going to do those games live. I'm going to watch those games, and then you're going to get to be able to kind of enjoy the game with me watching the game. And we'll be bantering back and forth. I have friends all across the country that like to tune into the Philly Sports Guy, whether they are a fan of the team or a fan of the opposing team and like to go banter back and forth. Those are some of the unique opportunities that we'll be able to have happen if they decide to go fanless. With the NFL, it's really difficult, although so I planned the Washington trip, and this will be the second year we did this. Last year we had 50 people strong. And it was an amazing trip. We went down there, and the Redskins took very good care of us as we took a bus down. We tailgated. We had a great time. We won the game, and was able to come back very happy Philadelphia Eagles fans. We don't know how this is all going to portray. So it's possible. There are a number of different things that could possibly happen. First thing being is that they postpone these games and push them back so that week 1 may not be until week 18, so just because that's the way that would fall, which would make it very interesting, because then the Eagles and the Redskins would be playing back to back because they start and end their season with the Redskins.
Interesting.
Also, it changes just how we dress. But along with that, it makes everything very tough to manage in terms of scheduling a bus and scheduling these tickets and who can purchase the tickets and who can't purchase the tickets. So
Right.
those are the things that are really going to be important to be able to work out during this entire
Right. So then I guess, are you taking reservations and people can purchase their tickets, and there's some, I'm assuming there's going to be some type of refund policy if, say, the game does get canceled. So if somebody isn't interested in, say, being a part of that trip and taking advantage of that awesome experience which you put together, how do they do that? And what is that going to be like if, say, maybe the game does get canceled?
So there has to be some things put in place. As part of purchasing the ticket, we're going to include the insurance so that if they do move those games, that I can rest assured to anybody who purchases those tickets that if for some reason they can't make that game, like I says, when it comes to having games, the next game, if they had it a week 18, that would be January 10th. Well, we don't know what the weather's going to be like if you're affected by the virus at that point. So it's going to be important to me to make sure that everybody is fully compensated for the fact that they are,
Yeah.
if they want to travel with me, they have the opportunity, if the game gets moved, to be able to get a full refund of that and be able to get, to come to that game with me 100%. Because we all know Philadelphia fans travel better than any fans across the U.S. They are just really the top tier.
And I know that wherever you go, whether you're with a group or not, you are loud and proud, and people know you're there. And I think by the end, respect the passion. And sometimes they try to give you a hard time, but you know what? Your relentless ability to stay clean and positive and really just be a good representative of Philadelphia is something that people really appreciate. I've seen it firsthand numerous times, and have to say it's pretty cool to watch.
You know what? It is a great time. I find that I have a lot of security guards from the stadiums that I go to that will start to follow me afterwards because they're like, if even if the team is not doing so well, I remain positive. I never curse. I don't drink while I'm at these games because there's too many kids around. That's one of the biggest fan base that I have. Are children coming up and saying, "Oh, I love the Mohawk. Oh, I want to take a picture with them." So, and I feel that there's a couple of things that I will never do. I'll never embarrass myself, my city, or my team ever. And that's really important to me. So that anybody who has that experience, whether you're a child of the Redskins and you're a Redskins fan, or a Buffalo Bills fan, or a Seahawks fan, which there really shouldn't be any of them. But anyways,
the wrong bird. It's the wrong bird. I don't know what I'm even thinking.
And it's funny because I have a tremendous Seattle Seahawks following. It really does make it fun when I do get to see them and we go bantering back and forth. However, we do have games with a couple of birds this year, i.e. the Ravens as well, and the Cardinals. So there's going to be a lot of bird games coming up this season, and that'll make for a lot of chirping back and forth.
Yeah, well, the feathers are definitely flying for sure this year, and that'll be a lot of fun. Anything else you want to leave them? How do people follow you? I know you're on all the social media channels. So if somebody wants to tune in to what the Philly Sports Guys got going on, what's the best way for them to do that?
So correct. I am on all the social medias. You can find me on Facebook at the Philly Sports Guy. Make sure you put the in the front of that because I do have the Philly Sports Guy as well. However, the is where I put most of my content. And it's the same thing on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Everything is the Philly Sports Guy, and YouTube. So you get to see a lot of different platforms where I'm doing a lot of content. I'm going to be renewing my countdown, the Eagles 100 countdown, where we count down the best Eagle to ever wear the jersey from 99 all down to 00. And that's going to be something that's going to be coming up here as we count down the season from starting. So
awesome. Very cool. Yeah, that was a very interesting series that you did. And you had some really great background and story and interesting pieces that you put together for each of those numbers. And I think you're going to be adding to that this year, which is kind of cool. And I'm excited to see what you do and come up with for that. But I want to say thank you for just taking some time to come out onto the show, and good luck with everything. Obviously, go Birds. I got my Swoop here. Swoop's ready to rock, and we can't wait.
I have him here as well. He's
Hey,
definitely.
Swoop is a pretty awesome bird. He gets around, and I know Eagles fans are excited. Philadelphia sports fans in general are excited for just something to happen. Man, Philly sports guy, thanks again for coming on. This was awesome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. EAGLES Eagles! Yeah!
Go Birds, baby. Love it. Stay safe, stay positive as you always do, and stay awesome. Everybody at home, do the same. Follow the Philly Sports Guy, and I will see you guys next time. This was a COVID conversation.